Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning.
Robert Meyer-Burnett.
How's it going?
But most importantly,
Bill
of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys, and we got a bunch of them. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now listen, just because you send one in does not obligate us to read it if we deem it inappropriate to be addressed on the show. But you can send one in, and as long as it's appropriate to be addressed on the show, we will address your comment or question at the second part of the show. Now, the good news about this tip link is it's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to the podcast, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you happen to be watching this show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question anytime 24/7. And if you send one in when we're not live, well, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, D23, they had the biggest surprise announcement. Incredibles 3. I mean, I think that was the one that got me most excited. I mean, they announced a number of things that were pretty good in that big presentation they did. But Incredibles 3, the thing that we were not expecting, we were not anticipating, they announced it, and here it comes. Now, today, we get some more concrete news about it, and it might disappoint some people. Brad Bird, the director of the first two Incredibles films, will not be directing the third one. However, he is writing the script, and he will be producing it. But they got a pretty good guy to step in for him in the director's chair. From The Hollywood Reporter, The Incredibles 3 finds its director. Who is it? Why, it's Elemental filmmaker Peter Sohn, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, taking the reins from franchise creator Brad Bird. Brad Bird.
He's a bad man.
The second cousin to Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny and Bad Bird.
Bad Bird.
Going on tour this summer.
Yeah.
So, listen, I got to tell you, on its own, the news that Brad Bird will not be directing Incredibles 3. That's disappointing. I mean, he's done such a great job on the first two. Absolutely love them. Now, at least he is the one writing the script. He is going to be the producer of the film. I have a feeling Disney's going to be giving him some other responsibilities, maybe another shot at live action. Remember Brad Bird took a shot at live action with that George Clooney, what was it called? Tomorrowland?
Yeah. And Brad Bird also directed Mission
Impossible
Protocol.
Right? The Tomorrowland one wasn't so great.
Not good. That was a script issue.
And I don't think he's taken another shot since. Because I think the Mission Impossible one came before that. And so maybe they're going to give him another one. I don't know. I hope he does get another shot at a live action thing. Look, Elemental to me was absolutely one of the biggest, brightest, most delightful surprises I've had in the movie theater in a while. Just because it looked like one of those kind of throwaway. I mean, I like the idea of it, the elements, kind of a little bit of an immigrant story kind of motif. That sounded nice, but I'm not going to lie. The trailers didn't wow me or anything like that. And when I watched it, I walked out of that theater with a full heart. It's one of those movies, Rob, that had a pretty weak opening weekend, but the word of mouth just started going, and all of a sudden it came in around $500 million when it initially looked like it would be lucky to make $200 million, because it's just that good. It was a wonderful, delightful, character-centric, wonderfully developed movie. And if you're going to have Brad Bird writing the script, and you're going to have this guy come and direct, would I still choose to have Brad Bird directing it? Yes. Does having this guy directing it soften the blow? Absolutely it does. So I am just as excited for Incredibles 3 right now. Now, if they had also announced that Brad Bird wasn't going to be writing and wasn't going to be producing, I might be a little bit even more concerned. But the fact that he's still there kind of steering the ship, you got a great director coming off a wonderful movie in Elemental. This is great. So I'm a little disappointed, but I'll get over it because this is a pretty good replacement. Rob, you heard about this news. What's your takeaway from this?
Look, man, I love both Incredibles movies. I've been a fan of Brad Bird since, the Family Dog. It became a series, but Family Dog was a segment of Amazing Stories. Spielberg's Amazing Stories. And I thought it was hilarious. That was the first time I heard the name Brad Bird. And I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, while even though Tomorrowland isn't great, I still thought it had a lot of great stuff in it.
It had things going for it.
And I really like Ghost Protocol. And I do, the fact that he wrote it means the movie is imbued with his sensibility. And it's not like they found some slouch first-time director to come in and take over. I mean, like you said, they brought in a heavy hitter, somebody who's already proven himself through, Pixar's greatness. So, look, what's not to be excited about? I think it's great. Bring it on.
Now, I'm sure we are going to hear from a bunch of people going, the sky is falling, Brad Bird's not directing it, all that kind of stuff. But like we often point out, I mean, listen, can you imagine if Star Wars, the original Star Wars was today, and they announced that Empire Strikes Back was coming, but George Lucas isn't directing?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the sky, and you know what? That worked out okay. Okay.
Yes.
And I think, as long as you're getting talented people involved, and again, Elemental, it's just, guys, if you haven't seen Elemental, I highly recommend you checking it out because it's just a wonderful, fun, heartwarming, charming, funny movie. And I think everybody should check it out. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? First big movement on Incredibles 3 is not the best move. Brad Bird won't be directing it, but he is still writing it and producing it. And we got the director for Elemental coming in to do the director lifting. I think this is going to work out great. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You guys will remember back when Hulu was created, it was kind of this, conglomeration of various companies that were going, and multiple studios went in on it together to create a place online that they can then put episodes of their network TV shows. And it was grand. Now, a few years ago, Disney kind of consolidated power with one holdout, Comcast, NBC Universal. They still owned 1/3 of it. Now, Disney, at this time, took over controlling interest of Hulu. They owned 66% or whatever it was. So they owned the controlling interest. They could manage it and control it. But Comcast still owned about 1/3. About 2 years ago then, Comcast and Disney made a deal where Disney would buy out Comcast, their remaining 1/3, but it had to go to mediation to determine how much that was going to be worth. Well, it's come in now, and I'm sure Comcast isn't happy today because the dollar figure that Disney's had to pay them out is about $4.5 billion less than they were expecting and hoping for. This comes from the folks at Variety. In December of 2023, in an initial payment towards the Hulu buyout, Disney agreed to pay $8.61 billion to Comcast. That represented 1/3 of the $27.5 billion guaranteed floor value for Hulu that was set when the companies entered in their agreement in 2019. The two sides last year entered into arbitration to determine the final price tag. Now, that number has been calculated. Pursuant to the contractual appraisal process that was completed on June 9th, 2025, an additional $438.7 million is payable by Disney. Comcast sought an additional $5 billion payout by Disney. So, in going into the last round about what the actual final price tag would be, Comcast was looking to get $5 billion more, and they ended up, through the court and arbitration, getting 20% of that? No, 10% of that. Less than 10% of that, getting $438.7 million. Not a great day for them, but Rob, it didn't say in the article, but I wonder if Comcast was looking at a value appraisal of Hulu now that it's a part of Disney Plus and now that it's all kind of been merged in. Whereas I'm just guessing that the arbitrator said, nah, man, you bought it when it wasn't that. You got to pay for what the fair value was at that.
Yes.
Therefore, you're getting another, hey, nothing to sneeze at, $438 million. Great, but a little bit less than the $5 billion they were wanting. Rob, what did you think about the results of the arbitration? How are you feeling today if you're Comcast? And here's another thing. How do you think we as television viewers are going to see changes now to Hulu? Was Disney being held back from doing some things because there was still an ownership question? I don't know. How do you see this?
No, I think they were. It was ownership. Look, possession's 9/10 of the law, right? I think, and again, you go into arbitration, it's always a crapshoot, especially if it's a binding arbitration. You never know exactly how it's going to come out. I was in an arbitration once. I thought it was a slam dunk. It turned out it wasn't. And you like you said, like you pointed out, the value of things change over time. And what something is worth today might not be the case tomorrow. And I think this arbitration, while, Comcast is probably not happy, it sounds to me like it was, look, I'd like $5 billion too. But the reality of the situation is sometimes you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you just might find you get what you need. And it seemed fair to me. I mean, I think overall it seemed like this was what was supposed to happen. But I'm sure Comcast not happy.
Now, what do you think is going to happen here? Obviously, Disney's made a lot of moves with Hulu. They've been putting them in packages with Disney Plus. They put them in packages now with ESPN. They've got it in a package with HBO Max. Do you think there are some things that maybe Disney had been held back from doing because there was still that 1/3 ownership question that now that they can move forward with?
I think probably. I mean, look, we just see an example of the Predator animated film, Killer of Killers.
Right.
Hulu's now become an outlet for, say, 20th Century Studios, which is another subsidiary now of Disney, to put things out. And now they're using IP that they own, and they're using Hulu as another extension of their own theatrical and Disney Plus platforms to exploit their IP. And with part ownership with someone else, maybe they didn't have as much incentive to do that. Maybe they'll step it up. Because, Hulu's been providing Paradise as a Hulu show. I think everybody really liked that. And I'd like to see Hulu as a platform that's going to exploit more of their IP that is more adult oriented. I think that's a great idea.
And you know what? This might be a little bit of karma for Comcast, although not nearly as much. Go back, if you will. If you guys will remember, a bunch of years ago, got announced that Disney had entered an agreement to buy Fox, right? To buy a bunch of 20th Century and all that kind of stuff. I might not be remembering the exact numbers right, so forgive me, but the general gist was this. I think they made an agreement, Disney, to buy all that stuff for about $40 or $50 billion. Then Comcast came in and said, wait a minute, law says you got to be open to other offers. We'd like to offer you $60 billion. No, you know what? And I think, I have no proof of this. This is just me speculating, but I've always thought that Comcast never had any actual intention of buying 20th Century. They just did that because they knew Disney was committed to buying it. And at the end of the day, I think Disney ended up paying like $71 billion.
Yeah.
Comcast, just through tomfuckery, ended up costing Disney 20 or 30 extra $1 billion that they never would have had to have paid if it wasn't for Comcast just doing it for shits and giggles. And so I wonder if this might, be a little bit of karma.
I felt like that too.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
They still come out on top though. I mean, so good for them. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Hulu is now finally completely owned by Disney. They only had to pay an additional $400+ million, money that I'll never see in my lifetime, instead of the $5 billion that Comcast wanted. Whatever you think about that, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. That down, let's move on to this. Well, we all talked about it. They were going to be doing, Amazon and Fandango were going to be doing an early screenings of the new Superman movie. The movie that comes out on July 11th, they're going to be doing advanced fan screenings at select limited theaters on July the 8th, days early before it opens in regular theaters. Now, many a peon like myself, like, when and where do I get my delicious, grubby little hands on these tickets? To which Amazon told us Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's what it said on the landing page. 9 a.m. Pacific, that's LA time, Pacific Standard Time. Pacific time. All right, no problem. So a lot of people like myself picked up my phone and said, hey, Yoo-hoo, set a reminder for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, right? And that's what I did and all that kind of stuff. Now, just through luck and happenstance, my dog woke me up this morning about 5:30 and woke Ann up too. And I was like, are the tickets on sale yet? Because she goes, no, they're not on sale. I said, yeah, but see if they've got a theater list at least. Go check. So Ann opens up, remember this is at 5:30 this morning. Ann opens up the app and she's like, the tickets are already on sale. I'm like, what now? They said 9 a.m. So I quickly opened up my thing and this is what I saw at 5:30 a.m. Not sold out, but half sold out. 3.5 hours before they told people these tickets were going to go on sale. Now, I don't know how many of these tickets were still left by the time 9 a.m. rolled around. I don't know. I'm sure there are going to be a number of theaters, a number of people around the country who, like me, set their alarm for 9 o'clock, set a reminder to make sure to get up and buy their Superman tickets, thinking they would for sure get them. And probably a lot of people still did. Not everybody knows about these advanced screenings. Only people who watch shows like this one and others. I can imagine, though, there are probably some people across the country that are not going to be able to get the tickets they thought they were going to be able to get because by the time they get on there, tickets had already been on sale for about 7 or 8 hours. Because from my estimation, I think they actually went on sale like around 1 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, listen, I don't blame James Gunn. I don't blame Warner. This is clearly an Amazon Fandango issue. And
Right.
First of all, thank you, Amazon and Fandango, for doing these screenings. Very excited. And I did get my tickets, thankfully. But I mean, I think there are going to be some people today that got pretty pissed off, and they kind of have every right to be. I don't know, Rob, you heard about this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, every time somebody says now in the streaming era that it starts at midnight, but really it starts at 6 p.m. before midnight or whatever, I'm always assuming you should check. Due diligence in this new modern age of ours is always a good plan. But like, this doesn't surprise me. Maybe they were as eager to get this up online. But the thing is, that thing you showed, some people were watching. Some people knew.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
some people checked.
Some people were Johnny on the spot, and they're like, they're probably refreshing. I got to get those tickets.
Right up until like last minute yesterday, I didn't know what time the tickets went on sale. So I remember I even told Ann, I said, I have to stay up late and check at 12:01. And I think maybe there were some people who didn't hear about the 9 a.m. and actually just stayed up till like 12:01, 12:05 and checked, said, there we go. And they bought their tickets. So look, I'm excited about it. I can't wait.
I mean, it's 3 days ahead of time?
But I'll tell you right now, Rob, if you thought I got mad the other day when AMC announced they were adding more commercials beforehand, if I had woken up this morning and at 9 a.m. went, it's a glorious day, Johnny's going to get his Superman tickets. They said 9 a.m., it's 8:59, I'm going to log in. What the fuck? And if it had been sold out and I didn't get my Superman tickets, I would have been a grumpy boy.
A grumpy boy indeed.
I would have been a very grumpy boy. F the world, let it all burn. I didn't get my Superman tickets. I probably would have been pretty upset.
I wonder if it was a situation where someone set the time, but in programming they had like the wrong time, like it wasn't Pacific time. It was set to another, time zone. By
somebody
accident,
made a mistake,
and so then it released.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, once the mistake is made and that first ticket sold, you can't do anything about it. You can't go, kidsies, and turn it off and stuff. Like, once you make the mistake, and so I'm going to guess, again, I'm just guessing. I might be wrong about this. This is pure speculation on my part. I'm going to guess that this wasn't a planned thing. I'm going to guess that, somebody made a mistake.
So you're seeing it in less than a month?
I am seeing it a month minus 2 days. Dude, I can't believe I mean, unless James Gunn sends me that invitation to his friends and family screening at his house.
Is he having one?
Which I'm expecting that invitation in the mail any day now. I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's coming. But save that. Yes. 1 month minus 2 days. And for everybody else, we are 1 month away. Because remember, it's July 11th. That really means July the 10th. Thursday, July the 10th. We are, as of today, we are 1 month away from Superman.
And I guess because of these early screenings, because it's open to fans, there's no embargo. Anyone can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. You know, and I believe...
You're paying for tickets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're paying for a ticket, stuff like that, it's public screening, there's no embargo. But here's what I believe. By allowing this screening to happen days before the release, DC knows that everybody's going to talk about it. And if this movie's not good, they know everybody's going to jump online to talk about how bad it is. They may be wrong to do so, but Rob, this is a supreme show of confidence in their movie. Again, there have been other studios who have been confident in their movie, and it turns out it was misplaced confidence, and maybe that's the case here. But at the very minimum, what we can say right now is to put this in front of tens of thousands of fans who can jump online, you better be supremely confident in your product. And to me, it looks like that's what they are. How do you see that?
I think you're exactly right. Look, I expect this movie is going to be wildly entertaining. I think people are going to have smiles on their faces. It's going to be very fun. And, you know, look, as much as I spent 2 years of my life working on Superman Returns, you know, it was a little somber. And Zack Snyder's 3 Superman movies were also somber. This, I think, is going to have a much different tone. And I think maybe it's a tone that's very needed today. And I think that we might have the perfect Superman for the perfect time. And that's what I think that's what I'm getting from this vote of confidence. And I think that's going to be great. A wildly entertaining summer romp of a superhero film, you know, unfettered by what people expect from whatever it's supposed to happen in the universe. This is a flag planting moment. Here's a brand new studio, DC Studios. Here's our first feature film in the theaters with the oldest, biggest, best superhero on Earth. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I have to admit, I've ordered my crypto shirt. Yeah.
But did you get the little flying crypto with the?
Yeah, it's on the shirt. It's crypto flying, and I got it. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I'm a dog guy. I had to get my crypto.
I know.
Shirt. Maybe I'll wear it to the screening. Maybe I'll wear it there. And anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Did you get your tickets for the early Superman screening? Were you one of the people who maybe went on when they said they were going to go on sale, only to find that it was practically almost sold out and the only seats left were like some singles and some neck breaker seats? I don't know. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, on my show, I try to avoid all the celebrity drama, TMZ, lowest common denominator bullcrap as I can. The only time I'll ever address it is if, like, one of these stories is going to have a direct impact on a film we have coming out. For example, back during the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp stuff, we would address it here and there because we had 2 major films being impacted. The Harry Potter universe film that Johnny Depp was going to be a part of and then was pulled out of. And Amber Heard had the Aquaman movie coming out, which could be affected and stuff like that. And so we would address it on that level. In recent months, you guys know there's been this Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively drama going on, to which we have not talked about it on our show. And whenever people, and believe me, it happened often, why are you talking about this? It's like, I don't know, because I'm not a 65-year-old grandmother sitting on the shores of Florida and I need something to gossip about.
Right.
But whatever, it's not actual movie news. But one of the things I would often respond is, this has anything to do with any upcoming movies we have right now. If it's not something I talk about. Well, something happened, and I decided today, because I never actually said that on the show, So I decided today just to use it as a doorway to kind of address it for a second and then put it to bed. I'm never going to talk about this again. But according to a story now in all the major trades, including gleefully on the New York Times, a judge has now dismissed Justin Baldoni's lawsuits, both against Blake Lively and the New York Times. Now, it read this in Deadline. A judge on Monday dismissed Justin Baldoni's $400 million defamation lawsuit against Hollywood power couple Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Mike Gottlieb, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that name, called the ruling, quote unquote, a total victory and a complete vindication. As we have said from day one, this $400 million lawsuit was a sham and the court saw right through it. The judge also granted a motion to dismiss by the New York Times. Baldoni had sued the New York Times, who was the first to report on Lively's allegations of sexual harassment for $250 million for libel, claiming that the newspaper published an article rife with inaccuracies. So the judge also dismissed that lawsuit as well. Now, something that needs to be pointed out, as in most civil litigation cases. Remember, this is not a criminal case. This is civil litigation. As happens in most civil litigation, there is going to be an opportunity for Baldoni to, well, he's been excluded from several of the complaints he brought, but there are still a couple of the complaints he brought that the judge said, and this is not unusual, hey, you can refile, but you're going to have to change it because the way it is, you don't, so you're welcome to refile. And I think Baldoni's lawyer said, we're going to march forward. They always say that. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So maybe this is over, maybe it's not. Now, I bring this up because there's no opinion for me here. I have nothing to offer. This is just a factual thing that factually happened. It's not a he said, she said. It's not up for interpretation.
Right.
Something happened here. A judge dismissed this. That's where we're at. Now, again, because this was just a factual thing, I decided in this one instance to address this on the show. I've addressed it on social media. I've addressed it when people commented, but I'll address it here. I don't talk about this stuff. This has nothing to do with the movies. This has nothing to do with any large movie or whatever we have coming out. I avoid all this TMZ nonsense. Now, here's the other thing, though. Let's say I did decide that I want to play the T. I want to be TMZ for a second. Let's talk about celebrity drama, which has nothing to do with movies. But let's say I wanted to be that pathetic. And I wanted to do that. Here's the thing. Even if I wanted to weigh in on this, I am clearly have a conflict of interest in this story. I clearly do. Right? Like, even if I was, and I would have been, if I was going to give commentary on this, I would just give my completely honest appraisal. But even if I was just giving my complete honest appraisal of all the news going on around the lawsuits, the reality is for 3+ years, one of Ryan Reynolds' companies, Mint Mobile, was our daily main sponsor of the John Campea Show.
Right.
Something I do not hide, and something that everybody knows. Therefore, even if I ever did, they were saying, John, you need to weigh in on this. You need to talk about this. Number one, no, I fucking don't. But number two, even if I did, nobody would take, rightfully so, nobody would take anything I said seriously about it because I have received indirectly a lot of money from Ryan Reynolds and his company. So if I got on and tried to give any kind of nuanced opinion, thought, balanced observation, whatever, unless I came out on my show and said, Justin Baldoni should be elected Pope. He is the greatest man to ever live, and his integrity is unquestioned. Like, unless I did that, people would understandably have called my observations of it into question because I clearly do have a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So, number one, why would you want my opinion on the Justin Baldoni fuck twit lawsuit that's going on, which I think most lawsuits are? But I mean, why would you even want my opinion of it? And then, even if you begged me for it and I gave it to you, you just wouldn't believe my opinion anyway, because I clearly do have a conflict of interest. So, I decided to use this headline as a Trojan horse. As a way to get on and say, hey, this is just a fact. This is what happened. Nothing for me to interpret. Judge ruled this. Could get refiled, might not. Who knows what happens in the future? I'm not going to give an opinion. And then use this as an opportunity to explain again why this is the last time I'm ever going to address this, because it has nothing to do with what the content of my show is. And even if I wanted to comment on it, I have a conflict of interest. And I don't know how stupid you'd have to be to not get that. So that's the end of that. Leaving it at that, I'm giving no opinion one way or the other. Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, who said what, who did what to who touched what. I give no opinion, no insight, because I don't know. I wasn't there and I wasn't in the room. And even if I wanted to play armchair quarterback, I clearly have a conflict of interest. Therefore, anything I have to say on it can't be taken at face value. And I acknowledge that. And so why would you want to hear from me on that? Anyway.
I do think everybody should watch Age of Adeline, though. If you want to see a wonderful movie that stars Blake Lively, you'll fall in love with her, and Harrison Ford's in it.
And the first Simple Favor. Really good. Really good.
Yeah.
But again, just because I like her a lot as an actress doesn't mean I have evidence proving she's right about everything, right? Not at all. So anyway, that's the full extent of any commentary I'm going to give on this story, or ever will give on this story for that matter. It's just what it is. So we're going to leave it at that. And now we're going to move on to the next real story that real movie people want to talk about, and not this kind of bullshit. Let's move on, shall we? And we're going to now move on and talk about this. Well, you know, we just had Ballerina open up, and it's fantastic. It's really, really fun. Again, not winning any Oscars for screenplay because it ain't fantastic in that way, but as a John Wick universe film,
yeah.
My God, you're just going for gun fu action and fun.
It delivers, man.
Absolutely
delivers on the promise.
But while it came in on its opening weekend around the same neighborhood as John Wick 1 and John Wick 2 did, it certainly fell short of where John Wick 3 and John Wick 4 came out. And you could use the term underperformed. I mean, it came out and made $25 million, which a lot of movies never make. But this is a movie that needs around $200 million to break even. And therefore, it's not a great start. Call it what it is. But the movie is fantastic. It deserves better. Now, some of you may know that they're looking at expanding the John Wick universe. Ballerina is just the first step in that. They're talking about having a Kane spinoff movie. They're going to do a John Wick prequel animated thing. And there are several others that have been whispered about. As a matter of fact, Hollywood Reporter ran this story today about some of the potential upcoming spinoffs they could do. From the world of John Wick, The Manager with Halle Berry. Hey, listen, a lot of people thought they should do a spinoff film of her character after John Wick 3.
She was great in it.
She was great. The stuff with the dogs was awesome in it. So they're talking about from the world of John Wick, The Manager. They're also talking about from the world of John Wick, The Bowery King. Either one with a modern Lawrence Fishburne or even a prequel. I hate that they do prequels, but prequels are done. So maybe to do one of The Bowery King. Or from the world of John Wick, The High Table. Maybe going back around the age of the Roman Empire when the High Table was actually formed. Or in the 1600s or the 1800s or hell, the 1980s. So the whole mythology of the High Table. I'm kind of glad the John Wick universe has kind of moved on from the High Table, but that's one of the things there. Or after John Wick 4, a lot of people thought we could get from the world of John Wick, Mr. Nobody. Not to be confused with the other movie, Bob Odenkirk's Nobody.
Simply Nobody.
Just Mr. Nobody. Of course, the guy played by Shamir Anderson in John Wick 4. A lot of people felt, who also had a dog, by the way.
He's my favorite for a spinoff. He has been.
He was really good. And again, they do dogs great in the John Wick universe. So, and then of course, the Kane movie that they're talking about doing, which is one they're saying it's going to be like a love letter to the old Kung Fu cinema. So I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold. But here's the question. With the results now they're looking at from Ballerina, which is a really great fun movie. What else could they have done? They made a great fun movie that's really good and really entertaining. And they got Ana de Armas in it. And they put John Wick in like 15 or 20 minutes of the film. and it could only make $25 million. And by the way, even John Wick, I think, John Wick 1 made like 15 million. John Wick 2 made 30 million opening weekend. I think John Wick 3 made like 50 something. Like the John Wick franchise in and of itself is not some huge blockbuster franchise. We often think of it that way, but it's really not. But with Ballerina doing this, the question has to be asked over at Lionsgate. Do we need to ditch the idea of John Wick spinoffs? I mean, what chances does From the World of John Wick, The Manager with Halle Berry have? What chances does From the World of John Wick, The Bowery King, a prequel story of a young Lawrence Fishburne? If this opens and it's really good and can only open to 25 million, is there an avenue? So Rob, like two real questions I have here, like the one let's put aside The Bowery King, The High Table, The Manager. Let's put those aside for a second. They've announced Kane. It's not in production or anything, but they've announced Kane. So two questions I have is, does this put the Kane movie in trouble about maybe them reconsidering doing it, considering the results that they just got from Ballerina? And number two, did the movie-going audience and did the box office just tell Lionsgate the only John Wick movies we're interested in are John Wick movies? We don't want an expanded universe from him. I don't know. How do you interpret all this?
Well, I mean, I would say, first of all, maybe Ballerina is, I don't think it's an indicator necessarily that a Donnie Yen, because, the Force is with him, that Donnie Yen Kane spinoff wouldn't work, because Donnie Yen brings his own gravitas from his own career into a film, whereas Ana de Armas has not led, a movie like this before, whereas Donnie Yen has a long history of action films.
But let me play devil's advocate a little bit. What Donnie Yen starring film has opened big in North America?
Well, that's true.
Right?
It's true. But I'm just saying that some franchises don't necessarily deserve spinoffs. The world is clamoring. If John Wick is a hit, it's because all the secondary characters and the universe that the movie has given us, whether it's The High Table, whether it's the Continental, the Continental, we have that mini series, all of that stuff works to support the John Wick franchise, of which is Keanu Reeves. And I don't necessarily think, like, while I would watch those movies if they were interesting, I don't think they necessarily will work. I mean, I think about TV. Like the Mary Tyler Moore Show gave us like Lou Grant, which was a totally different kind of a show, or Frasier came out of Cheers, right?
Yeah.
So they were very different things. Frasier was a very different show than Cheers, even though the characters were the same.
Mm-hmm.
Ballerina is kind of the female John Wick. Was there enough different about Ballerina to make you like, if John Wick's in it, why didn't we just get a John Wick movie and make Ballerina, or Ana de Armas' character part of John Wick 5? And I don't know. I mean, I like this franchise. I like the universe a lot, but clearly this movie was not mismarketed. They marketed it very well. It had great trailers, I thought. And I think that when people are thinking John Wick, that's what they want. I don't know, but I don't think this one, we'll see where it plays out, because I still think this might have legs internationally. I would imagine.
I hope so, because it deserves it.
I think so too, man. And I'm like, James Bond movies make way more money internationally than they make domestically.
Right.
And I would think this is right up. I would think the international audiences will really dig this movie.
I think if this can break 180, it'll break even across marketing, theater cut. So
yeah,
but it's going to need somewhere, because my understanding is the production budget on Ballerina was 90 million, and I believe they spent about 35 million on marketing. So you minus the 1/3 from theater keep, you're looking around the 200 million, 190, 200, 210 mark. Then he's breaking. As of right now, again, it's just had its first weekend. As of right now, it's made 50 million worldwide. So it's 30 or 25% of the way there. It's going to be a hard climb for it to get to 200 million.
It'll be interesting to see where we are after.
So what do you think this does? Like, if you're in the conference rooms right now of Lionsgate, and it's a studio I really like, and you're talking about the John Wick stuff, like, I don't know. Like, you're having these meetings where people are pitching things like The Manager or The Bowery King or High Table. Like, it's like, we can't do it any better than we just did with Ballerina.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
do you pull the plug on this right now, or do you think there's still stuff to explore outside of John Wick himself?
I think you have to take a pause. I mean, because Lionsgate has another franchise. Look, they had the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah.
And that did pretty well. And that was about another character. I mean, President Snow, I wouldn't have thought that a movie necessarily, I mean, it had the book, obviously, and then they're doing the new one. So
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes made almost $350 million.
Yeah, and that's pretty great. I mean, in terms of doing a Hunger Games spinoff about a character that nobody liked, the villain, you know? So, and they're doing the new book as well. So I think that, and that's a Lionsgate franchise, and you've got to look at Hunger Games to tell you something about, okay, we can do a spinoff within that universe. But the thing about John Wick is the draw is John Wick. It's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And everybody else, as cool as they are, they're cool within that. And the Ballerina character, Ana de Armas' character, was brand new.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to say, but maybe.
I guess because in the back of your head, you're always like, he can never beat the Baba Yaga. As good as he's getting through this, John Wick would have done it better because he's better than him.
Well, again, and if you saw Ballerina, the movie itself says that.
Yes.
Like, Ballerina ain't the Baba Yaga. I mean, I loved that. I loved the whole fight sequence between John Wick and Ana de Armas. I thought it was just awesome the way they did it. But at any rate, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? What is the future? Is there a future for a John Wick universe? I mean, they made a really good, entertaining movie in Ballerina, and it's kind of underperformed. If you can't do it there, is there any point in doing The Manager or The Dowry King or The High Table or Mr. Is there any point to any of it? And you just maybe turn your attention to John Wick 5 and then call it a day. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we've talked a lot about Superman, rightfully so, today, but lest you forget, just a couple of weeks after Superman, we got the newest Marvel film, The Fantastic Four. It's coming and it's on its way. We talked last week, Rob, about the fact that they actually just set the record, the 2025 record for the highest ticket sales on their first day of pre-sales release. That was from Fandango. Most first day ticket sales. And we've had a couple of films this year that have flirted with the $1 billion mark between Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, you know, a couple of big films. And they're saying Fantastic Four sold the most pre-sale tickets out of any of them this year. That's great. Well, now we know something. We got another number, Rob. Coming to us right now from the direct and from AMC Theaters directly, we now know the runtime of Fantastic Four. And it's going to be the longest running in the Fantastic Four series by a lot. As AMC Theaters is reporting, the runtime of Fantastic Four is almost to the minute the exact same length of Superman. Superman is, I believe, 2 hours and 9 minutes, I think. Fantastic Four is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Now, as we compare this to the other Fantastic Fours, of course, we've got the all-time classic, the Fantastic Four 1994. That one was 90 minutes, the Roger Corman one. Then, next longest, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer was just 92 minutes. The next longest was the Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller Fantastic Four in 2015. That was 100 minutes. Then, next longest, the first of the Michael Chiklis, Chris Evans Fantastic Four films, Fantastic Four in 2005, was 106 minutes. And now, blowing that all away, the new Fantastic Four goes from 106 to 130 minutes. 2 hours and 10 minutes, almost a half hour longer than the previous longest one in the run. Now, while this is going to be the longest Fantastic Four film we've ever had, it's still a modest runtime compared to the MCU. Now, the MCU has had some real long ones. They've had a couple going to the 3 hour mark, but a lot of them come in between the 2.5 hour mark. So we got the runtime now, 2 hours, 10 minutes. Rob, this is by far the longest of any Fantastic Four movie we've had, like nearly a half hour longer than the next longest one. What do you think about the runtime? Does that tell you anything about the pacing it may have? Maybe some story points they will or won't touch on because of this? What do you think?
To me, it seems fine. I mean, in terms of a length, it's the introduction of these characters within the MCU. So I think you've got to set up the world. You have to set up the milieu that the Fantastic Four exist in. And then you have to introduce a threat, Galactus. I mean, there's word that the Mole Man is in this movie too. So there's all kinds of things that they have to do and then make it work. So to me, anything, this is not egregiously long. And remember, 10 minutes of this, 8 minutes will probably be credits because Marvel movies have those long because so many people worked on them. So it seems like this is right in the ballpark to be exactly what it should be. It doesn't surprise me at all, but I'm surprised that there were Fantastic Four movies that were only 92 or 97 minutes long.
Yeah, I think about that. I was like, well, that was
like wild. But no, I think this is probably right in the sweet spot. And I mean, I don't think if it was 2.5 hours long, I'd be like, that's a little long.
There's still a lot of film fans who think longer equals better, which we've seen many times. That's not true.
No.
But do you also think that this is kind of a situation of the pendulum swinging a bit the other way? Because it was just a couple of years ago that we started to see a trend of movies getting longer and longer. And then even at the Academy Awards, they made fun of it a lot, saying make it literally, and a lot of film fans started complaining about how long movies were getting. Now we're getting Superman, 2 hours, 9 minutes. We're getting Fantastic Four, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Do you think part of this is a bit of a response to the trend that we were seeing about them getting longer and longer?
No, I just think that movies have to kind of know what they are. And movies as a form, like a romantic comedy, like a Woody Allen, like Annie Hall can be, or When Harry Met Sally can be like 97 minutes. That makes sense. Bigger films like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back float between 121 and 125 minutes. That works.
Yeah.
And I think that this is exactly probably the right time for this particular movie. If it was 2.5 hours or even 2:45, I'd be like, nah, something seems a little off. This to me seems like it's right where it's supposed to be because, it tells me that the film, especially Superman, I mean, this is going to be, I think, a fast-paced film. It's chock-a-block full of interesting stuff. It'll be interesting. I'm sure the pace is going to be very swift. And same with this. I mean, this movie's got to do a lot of different things. So, to me, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see both films. And it sounds to me like both films have a handle on what they're supposed to be. I mean, we'll know in a month and a half.
I'll respond to this. One of our regular live viewers, one of our great community members, Ron H., in the live chat is saying something that I think a lot of people misinterpret. He said in the live chat, long is only long if the story sucks. If the story is great and well presented, time just flies by. That's only true if the movie isn't too long. If you can have a great story will have a runtime that's right for it. If you make it 20 minutes longer than it should be, even a great story starts to feel dry. A great story where a director doesn't know how to cut it down to its right length. You can have a great story, and if it's 20 minutes too long, longer than it should be, it starts to feel slow. It starts to feel predictable. It starts to feel like it drags in places. So having a great story only works in your favor if, as the director and the filmmakers, you have a good sense of what, not only do we have a good story, but what is the right runtime for this story to tell the story properly, and not to cut it too short where you're leaving stuff out, but not to cut it too long where you're dragging things out either.
I agree. I mean, one of my favorite movies is The Right Stuff, and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. And to me, it goes by like a shot.
Yeah, and there are movies that are 2 hours long that feel too long. There are movies that are 3 hours long that feel like they're too short. Again, every movie is going to have every story is going to have its unique runtime that brings out its most effective potency. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Fantastic Four is not super long for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie by other film standards, but by far the longest of any Fantastic Four film we've ever had before. However you guys feel about that, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid Good day to writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always,
That was
Rob.
so fast.
Yeah, it was a quick one today. Now, also, before we get to your live questions, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Stitch Fix. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Stitch Fix. Guys, you know I love movies, but you also know I have absolutely no fashion sense, and I absolutely hate shopping for my clothes. But thankfully, I have found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. With Stitch Fix, I get a stylist who understands my style, size, and budget, and they do all the shopping for me. Because look, shopping and figuring out style can be overwhelming, especially for somebody like me. When it comes to getting dressed, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. That's why I love having a Stitch Fix stylist. They really know what works for me. I get pieces that make me look great, and it's a real confidence boost. You just give your stylist your size, style, and budget preferences. You get to order boxes when you want and how you want, no subscription required. They send you personalized pieces, and the fit is always on point. No stores, no crowds, no stress. Just personalized looks that you will love. So guys, make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Campea. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Stitch Fix for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
We got Schmohawk. A little bit Curb Your Enthusiasm there. That thing about Odeon UK telling you the end time is 100% true, but it's not on the listing. It's on your ticket. The QR code to scan in has the start and end time under it. So yes, you can work out the actual start time, only Odeon, though, no one else.
So I'm going to assume then the listing tells you the start time. Like you can't have an event and not tell people what time it starts.
Yeah,
at.
that's
like I have no problem believing that Odeon tells you the end time. I actually like that. I think that's great. What I questioned was the original person who read in saying they don't tell you the start time. They only tell you the end time. It's like that. I don't believe. I don't believe that. I think you might be incorrect about that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's great, including the end time. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Murray Wright with a two-parter. When I went to see Ballerina at AMC, they surprisingly had 20 minutes of trailers instead of 30. So it was like, I was excited to think the movie would start earlier than expected. Unfortunately, it was too good to be true. Well, I mean, you knew this was coming. They first showed Thank You for Being at AMC, then at Coke, and then Nicole Kidman, and then Dolby Cinema. And then the movie started. F my life.
Yeah, that's the other thing that drives me crazy about it. Like, I won't do my whole number of commercials they play thing, but once they go through all this parade of commercials and trailers that you didn't come here to see, that you did not pay your money to come and watch, then they play like 4 inter-business commercials. Come watch a movie at AMC theaters. I'm already sitting in your damn theater.
Come drink a Coke.
Have a drink of Coke. I've already walked past. I already did the concession stand. I'm sitting in the theater now, waiting for the movie to start.
And I'm not going back to the concession now.
Yeah, look how great this Dolby theater is, or look how great this IMAX theater is, or look how great AMC laser projection is. I'm already sitting here. I'm here. I'm here. You don't have to convince me to come here. I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
So by the time they go through all the trailers and commercials already, they literally show you 4 more inter-business commercials. Again, time that I paid to be here for, you are wasting. Which is why, once again, I encourage all my fellow film fans, if you go to AMC theaters, do not buy anything at their concession stands. It's not a boycott. I'm just encouraging people. Hey, don't buy your concession stands there. Do not buy their popcorn, their overpriced popcorn. Do not buy their soda. Eat something before you come. Bring something in your pockets. I don't care. But they're stealing your time that you paid to be there. The very least we can do to reciprocate is to not give them any more of our money by paying for their overpriced stuff. I used to be happy paying for their overpriced concession stands until I just got too sick of them continuously stealing my time. So yeah, my encouragement to all my fellow film fans, again, just me, how I feel about it, giving you encouragement. Don't buy any of AMC's concession stand stuff. Take care of yourself before you go. All right, what's next?
Jaspreet says, hey guys, decided to read some of the materialist reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and one of the negative reviewers literally spoils who she ends up with. I know I should be more careful reading things, but was not expecting that at all. They shouldn't be giving plot points in reviews.
Well, no, you definitely shouldn't be giving the conclusion of the film.
Yeah.
Like everybody, the problem with spoilers is that everybody has a different definition of spoilers, right? Like some people will think, like, will define a spoiler as revealing that Bruce Willis was dead all along in Sixth Sense.
What?
But some people, and you might think this is hyperbole, it is not. I assure you, I get these complaints all the time. Like some people will go, like if I'm talking about a movie I saw, it's like, man, there's this one scene where there's a car chase going on. And someone will go, spoiler. I'm not telling you the details or what have. I'm just saying there's a car chase. Most movies, a lot of movies have car chases. I didn't want to know anything. Like, so because all of us seem to have a different definition and a different threshold of what a spoiler is, it makes conversations about upcoming movies very tricky sometimes. My personal definition of a spoiler, to me, a spoiler is a piece of information that alters the way you view the movie before that revelation is made in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So finding out that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time before you watch the movie, that'll fundamentally alter the way you watch that entire movie right up until they reveal that he's been dead the whole time.
But don't worry, his wife will find peace with his loss, and it'll all have a sort of happy ending.
It all comes out fine.
I didn't spoil anything because it's a happy ending.
So, but I think everybody can agree, as diverse as everybody's definitions of spoilers are, I think everybody can agree that revealing in your review who she ends up with, that fundamentally changes your entire viewing experience.
Yeah.
Or it's like watching Who Done It and then in your review saying who ends up being the murderer. Well, that completely changes the way you watch the movie.
Yeah, watch the very end of like Glass Onion or something and then start the movie.
So if somebody did that in their review, they should be that review. Rotten Tomatoes should remove that review. Maybe it was an oopsie, I don't know, but they should at least, I'm not saying ban the reviewer, but I'm just saying maybe just remove that review anyway. All right, what's next?
Murray Reich. Movie theaters are like Final Destination movies to me. It doesn't matter what line you are at, shorter or longer. I will always get screwed over on being in the slowest one. That happens to me all the time. Same with knowing when to arrive at a movie. It's like death knows how to F around you.
Dude, whether it's which concession line to get in. Now, at AMC theaters, when I used to do concessions, it was easy. I would get in the AMC A-list line. So that was simple. But if I was at another theater or whatever, you had to pick a line to be in, didn't matter which one. It would guarantee to be the slowest one. When Ann and I get to Universal City to go to Universal Hollywood, doesn't matter if there's 8 lines. Whichever one we pick, it will be this. It'll end up being, like, it might have been moving super fast. As soon as we get in there, there'll be some guy who totally forgot he's got a metal plate in his shoe, and that's why it keeps going. We will always end up in the slowest line. Doesn't matter. By the way, just as a side note, The Materialist, which I'm going to go see on Thursday, is currently at 89%.
Nice.
That's actually not bad for what kind of on the surface looks like a formulaic kind of rom-drom, but I don't know. Maybe it's pretty good. All right. Anyway, what's next?
Chris Parker, $20 tip.
Thank you, Chris.
Don't count myself a huge Predator fan, nor do I like adult animation all that much, but OMG, did I enjoy the hell out of Predator Killer of Killers. So creative, violent, and entertaining. Fully locked into the Predatorverse now. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about that, and actually my buddy Ryan texted me this morning saying, have you watched Predator Killer of Killers yet? I didn't have a chance yet. Anne's teaching a class at university tonight, so I'll probably use tonight as a chance to sit down and watch it. So I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to watch Predator Killer Killers tonight. But yeah, even my buddy Ryan texted me this morning saying it's really good. So tonight I will watch Killer of Killers, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you again, man, for supporting us on that level, and thanks for adding your name to the long line of recommendations. All right, what's next? Did he just say that? Says, hi, John. I watched the Predator Killer of Killers and got to say I enjoyed it very much, though the ending seems abrupt, or it might be. It had me in the mood for more. Have you seen it? Thoughts? Thank you for everything you do. That's actually a good thing when you want more.
Yes, I mean that's kind of the whole point, right? That's what your kind of aim is. So, and I just kind of talked all about it. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
So are you gonna watch it, John?
nah, I don't think I changed my mind in the last 2 minutes. All right, what's next?
Omega Luke says, "Hey John and crew, I'm here to back up anonymous comment on Monday show about cinemas in the UK showing end times. My local View Cinema have done this for years. It's a great way of calculating what time to go based on 5 to 10 minutes of credits."
Yeah, and again, I was not doubting that they advertised that. I was just doubting the thing that they don't give you the start time. It's like, that's kind of crazy. But again, I do like that. I mean, I'd be all for it if they did in the North American theaters. Like, say, showtime's at 7. The movie's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. The movie will end at this time. That's great, because then you can do the math and figure out exactly how late you can come in. I mean, that's wonderful. If North American cinemas would do that, it's kind of problem solved. Then it's like, okay, go ahead, show all the useless trailers and commercials that you want. Go ahead. If you tell me the actual end time and the proper runtime of the movie so I know when to come into the theater, so it's not risk missing any of the movie, that's great. I wish North American theaters would do that. All right, what's next?
All right. Well, Chip Crisper is so excited. John, I snagged my Amazon Prime Fandango early access Superman tickets for Tuesday, July 8th this morning at 5:30 a.m. I was first to get tickets in the theater. I hope everyone gets early seats who want them. Did you get yours? Thanks for bringing on the filthy.
Yeah, we did, but I was lucky, man. Because again, I like probably everybody else, I believed the thing that said 9 a.m. That's what they said. They said 9 a.m. And if my dog didn't wake me up, by the way, I need to go give my dog an extra treat. If my dog didn't wake us up, we wouldn't have checked. And like by the time we did, also at 5:30 in the morning, so many of the seats were already gone. Now we got lucky. We were able to get the tickets that we wanted and we're all set. So I'm all good. But man, like I told Rob earlier in the show, Johnny Wood is going to be a grumpy boy today. If I got up and then opened my ticket thing at 8:59 and saw that my theater was either sold out or only had a couple of single seats left, I would have been very upset because they told us 9, but I got my ticket. So all is fine in the world.
They said it to Greenwich Mean Time or something.
Yes.
Brian O'Connor says, I get the criticisms of Kathleen Kennedy, but I do wish more executives like Kevin Feige would be willing to just cancel projects before release. I refuse to believe Secret Invasion worked in the editing room. How hands-on is Kevin really? Well, think about the time of when that was released.
Yeah, that was done under the Chapek era.
Yeah.
That was done under the Chapek era when the mandate. Now remember, this is not rumor. A Marvel executive came out and confirmed this, that the Chapek mandate was create as much content as you can as fast as you can. That was their mandate that they were given.
Yeah.
They were literally forced to put things even into production that they wouldn't have necessarily wanted to put into production. And like, even if Kevin Feige became dissatisfied, remember, under Bob Chapek, a good amount of Kevin Feige's authority had been stripped away and given to a middle management guy. So, I mean, at that time, it's really hard to say. Now, someday, Kevin Feige will be retired and he'll write a book, and I'm sure he'll talk about the Chapek years and all the stuff that went on back there. But yeah, that was really a product of its time, under the produce as much as you can, as fast as you can, and shove it out the door, because we just got to make as much content for Disney Plus as possible era. So I think in that situation and in that time, Kevin Feige didn't have a lot of power. Under Bob Iger gives Kevin Feige all of his authority back. And so hopefully we're not going to see something like that happen again. But, you know, it is what it was. All right, what's next?
Matan says, do you think Disney will delay and reshoot Tron 3 to avoid bad PR regarding Jared Leto? He was already given a red flag due to his behaviors, and Disney is more protective than WB. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything new.
Nothing new. So what is the question? Is Disney going to do what?
Like delay?
No.
Nah.
No. Here's the thing. So there was an article that came out. And by the way, again, I don't know anything yes or no, but we got Tron 3 coming out, and this could affect Tron 3. So I can't remember what the news outlet was, but they were reported that there were some allegations. Now, when I read it myself, it was important to note that nobody was accusing the dude of attacking anybody. Like, somebody said when she was 16, he was flirting with her. Well, that can be interpretive. Like some people, if he said good morning a certain way, somebody thought that meant he was flirting. Again, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. What I'm saying is, though, and I responded this to somebody who wrote to me on my channel, and I said, look, if this gets to the point that Leto actually gets charged with something, like if a prosecutor looks at this and thinks there is enough actual evidence of wrongdoing here that we're going to bring charges, then it's something that we're going to talk about on our show, because we got Tron 3 coming out, and this could have a massive impact on their release strategy for Tron 3. But again, from what I read, and maybe I didn't read everything, I am not claiming all knowledge of this. Okay. I'm just saying from the brief little skim I did, nobody was accusing him of attacking anybody. It was inappropriate behavior, stuff like this. And unless it elevates to an actual court thing where, like I said, a prosecutor deems there's actual enough evidence to bring charges, I don't think there's anything to talk about, and it'll probably just blow over. I'm not saying that's what will happen. I'm saying if it does get to that point, then it's something for us to talk about, because it's going to have a direct impact on Tron 3. All right, what's next?
We got Nolan, who says Odeon does show you the end time of a movie on the barcode.
Okay, yep, know this already.
Yeah,
we covered this.
Yeah, so I think everyone just kind of like ran in for that. We got Brian O'Connor. It says 1 of 3, but it's actually just 2. I'm reading the June 2024 THR article, Why Blade Can't Cut Through Development Hell. It suggests that Mahershala has script and director approval. That's interesting for a newcomer to the MCU. Ollie wants Blade to be his Black Panther, culturally resonant, philosophical, cerebral, art house epic, cinema. But his Blade isn't suited for that kind of narrative depth or cultural positioning. We just need John Wick with vampires. In my opinion, Ali isn't a creative fit in the MCU.
I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think you can make Blade something that goes beyond, just have him killing a bunch of vampires. I think Blade does have the narrative potential to be that and more. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, the problem is that Ali did approve writers and directors, but it just wasn't coming together the way Marvel wanted it. And I don't think Ali himself was happy with it either, from what I understand. So it's not like Ali, who, again, at this point is a 2-time Academy Award winner, is coming into this project, bringing a lot of cachet with him. It's not terribly unusual. They say, yeah, I'll do it, but I want to make sure I got to protect myself here. I want to make sure that is not necessarily the problem. Again, they were all able to come together and agree on a set of writers and directors, but then it wasn't producing good stuff. So they went to something else, and that wasn't producing good enough stuff for them too. So I don't think Ali's the problem. Straight up, I don't think Ali's the problem. I really do think, though, the big issue here is that I think what has happened to Blade has probably happened to a lot of movies that you've just never heard about, because studios were smart enough not to announce them before they had what they were making. I believe what has happened to Blade is not all that unusual in Hollywood. It's just that Kevin Feige didn't come out on a stage at Comic-Con and announce to the world it was coming before they even knew what it was they were going to make.
Right.
And that's a mistake I don't think Kevin Feige's ever going to repeat again. Right?
Yeah. So,
I don't think Ali's the problem. I think Ali can be a great creative fit. I don't think Marvel, that's how you end up with crappy, schlocky movie. I don't think Marvel just wants to be a pew-pew thing. They do want to bring more depth, like Thunderbolts did, right? So I don't think that's the problem. I think it's the problem. They announced something before they had something to announce, and I think that's the issue.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
Danny M. Blake says, I've been with John that Superman wouldn't cross $1 billion until recently. The recent marketing just makes the movie look like a blast. A lot of kids will see this movie, and that's the surest path to $1 billion. That was the demo missing from DCEU films.
I still don't believe it's going to cross $1 billion. I really don't. I don't even think it's going to get relatively close. I think it's going to be great. There's just too much baggage that James Gunn has to clean up first, that the previous administration kind of left this horrible mess in its wake. And James Gunn's now the guy in charge of having to clean it up. And I think he will. And I think he'll make a very successful future. But you just got to understand the great marketing. It doesn't make all of it go away. Marketing can help, but a great movie is what helps clean it up. And then once this movie's great, and I still believe will be successful, then you start looking at, with all the mess getting cleaned up and James Gunn rehabilitating the image of DC and of Superman and all this kind of stuff from the disaster that was the DCEU, then we can start talking about billion-dollar prospects. But I think until you get past Superman to do all that heavy work, I just don't think $1 billion is realistic. I hope I'm wrong. Oh, dude, the day Superman, if the day comes that Superman crosses that $1 billion mark, dude, I'm going to drop confetti. I'm going to be popping bottles. I'm going to be dancing around here in celebration for it. That's awesome. But I will also be surprised because I just don't see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, though. All right, what's next?
Oh, we got one excited fan who got Danny says, got my tickets for the early screening of Superman.
Nice.
Saw somewhere tickets were going on sale at 9. I woke up at 3 a.m. to use the facilities, decided to hop on the site and managed to get the first 2 tickets in the theater. Did you get yours? So your bladder saved you.
That is almost except it was my dog instead of my bladder. That is almost the exact same scenario as me. I was planning on checking at 9. Something happened that roused me a little bit earlier than I was anticipating. Just checked it on a whim and saw that half the theater was already sold out. Again, really glad that I checked, but man, I would have been so grumpy. Anyway. All right. I'm glad you got your tickets, man. I did as well. All right. What's next?
Forbidden says, as long as the maker is on the table, multiverse never truly ends. Then, not to mention the possibilities of Age of Apocalypse, Bishop, Cable, Exiles, members, Longshot, Mojo, etc., always being there.
You don't need. Here's the thing: you don't need maker on the table. You don't need anybody on the table. The MCU doesn't need anything to give them an excuse to do anything they want. They can literally just make up something if they wanted to go in another direction, right? Now, with something like Age of Apocalypse, here's what they did in the comic books. All right, that was really interesting. So they brought Age of Apocalypse to an end. For those of you who don't know what, I've mentioned a lot, just quick little thing. For those of you who don't know what Age of Apocalypse is, it starts with a storyline called, I believe it was called Legion Quest, was the name of the story in the comic run. Now, Legion is the son of Professor Charles Xavier and a massively powerful entity in the comic books and traditionally a villain, right? But Legion decides he wants to do right by his dad, right? And I'm oversimplifying it, but the basic gist is this. Legion decides, how can I make my dad's life better? I know. Magneto sure has been a thorn in my dad's side. So I know what I'm going to do, thinks Legion. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to kill Magneto. That way, my dad's life will have been better. Well, here's the problem. Legion goes back in time to when Charles and Eric were still best friends. And when Legion tries to kill Magneto, Charles saves him and Legion ends up killing Charles Xavier. Now, that then creates the events of Age of Apocalypse. Because what happens, and this spanned all the X titles, was that history had now changed. And it looked now at what would today look like if Charles Xavier had died 30 years ago, or however many years ago it was. And it's a very different world. It's a dark world. It's a dark world where Apocalypse, without Charles Xavier and his X-Men to stop Apocalypse, took over all of North America and culled all the humans and created a strongest survive mentality. And is now getting ready to wage war on Europe, which is where, humanity has the European area, Apocalypse and the mutants have North America, all that kind of stuff. Now, what they did in that was after they ended the Age of Apocalypse storyline and all time went back to normal again, they figured out a way to have a couple of characters. I'm thinking in particular of Dark Beast, like a Hank McCoy, but he was Apocalypse's Hank McCoy, right? We're able to transition out of the Age of Apocalypse timeline into the regular timeline. That's a very overly drawn out way of saying that Marvel can kill the multiverse saga, which I cannot wait for them to do. This has been a disaster. They can end the multiverse saga after Secret Wars, but they can still, if they wanted to, have some characters move over from the multiverse saga and survive whatever closes the multiverse and survive into the regular MCU. And that could include Maker. That could include a bunch of other characters. But then again, like I said, Marvel doesn't need an excuse. They can write whatever they want to. Right? If they wanted the John Krasinski Reed Richards from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, they don't need an excuse. They can just say, while digging through a playground, a child finds the Crystal of Methuselah. And the Crystal of Methuselah, when he scratched it against his balls, it opened a portal, and John Krasinski's thing. They can do whatever they want. They don't need to come up with an excuse or have a narrative plot point to do it. They can just create something that they want to make it happen. Anyway. All right. And everybody, I highly encourage it. If you've never rubbed the Crystal of Methuselah against your balls, it's very, very refreshing.
It's exfoliating.
Like a junior mint. It's very refreshing. All right. What's next?
Bobby Jackson. One of the things I like about Killer Killers is how it expands the Predator lore while keeping with canon. With Trachtenberg revitalizing the series, do you think we might see Dutch one last time?
You know, it's funny. Somebody was I saw a headline today. Somebody talking about it's possible to bring Arnold Schwarzenegger back into Predator. It never worked with Terminator, except for the second one, Terminator 2, bringing Schwarzenegger back. But ever since then, it's never worked. So I don't think you bring Dutch back. I think you've moved on.
Yeah.
I think you've moved on. So no, I don't think they will. And I say this as somebody who loves Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I just don't think you bring back Dutch. I don't think there's any point in that. And I think the box office has shown just bringing back Schwarzenegger into random Terminator movies hasn't really helped those movies at all either. So I would say no. All right, what's next?
Nick says, hey, John, got my early access Superman tickets. Was lucky because when I logged on, my theater was nearly packed and got the two final spots. So we've been hearing they're getting the first two ones. He got the two final.
He got the two. Again, I just know that there are probably a lot of film fans across the country who logged in exactly when Amazon said they needed to log in, 9 a.m., only to find out that their theater was already sold out. And I just feel bad for people that happened for.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Yeah, Superman kind of follows up. Got my Superman tickets. There's no IMAX near me, but he got an XD. Theater, apparently they went on sale last night and they're going like hotcakes. Most screens are 90% full. I'm sure by now they're all gone. So if so, this movie might make gangbusters. Well, but these are all the people that are limited seating and they want to get on it right away.
I mean, but
and you have to buy these tickets, right?
Yeah,
So,
you have to buy. Yeah, absolutely, you have to pay for these tickets. I thought it was interesting because I was expecting when I was logging in, I was expecting to find out that, it was going to be in like one of the regular theaters. I was not expecting it to be in a Prime or an IMAX, but lo and behold, the screening is in IMAX.
That's great.
Which I think is pretty interesting. You know what? Pursuant to this conversation now, I just opened it up. Oh, I'm on the wrong theater. Oh, they just added a new theater.
That's crazy.
They just added a new theater in my area that was not there earlier. Okay, that's interesting. Right, I'm going to double check now the theater that I did get my tickets in. And yeah, now it's just the front seats. Front seats in an IMAX screen is not where you want to be. Anyway, all right. What's next?
Cody Hunt says, what a great time to be a movie fan. So many things to see. I need to catch up. Just booked my tickets to an early screening of JW or Jurassic World Rebirth on June 24th, thanks to B&B Theaters, and another early screening for Superman through Prime on July 8th.
I
Nice.
know nothing of this early screening of Jurassic World.
That's cool.
I would like to get tickets for this. Again, July is going to be... Look, I understand the current status of the Jurassic franchise, but honestly, I think this new Jurassic movie looks pretty fun.
I checked out a while ago. I didn't even see the last one. That's how checked out.
Yeah, it was not so great.
And this one, I'm like, this is still a hard no for me. And then when I got the premise and the look of it being more of like a horror film or whatever, I'm like, dang it, I think I'm going to go see this.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting back
Yeah.
to kind of a little bit of the, like, it's going to be more than a horror film. It's going to be an adventure film for
Yeah.
sure. But
I mean, those elements.
those elements that we haven't really seen there since the first Jurassic World, right? And the fact that you got Mahershala Ali and Scarlett Johansson and stuff, I think it looks good. Then so we got that, we got Superman, we got Fantastic Four. July looks great. But yes, if any of you guys know of a link where I can go maybe get tickets to these early Jurassic screenings coming apparently at the end of July, please send it to me. I would love to see it.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
All right, we got Jake. AMC screen unseen events have disappointed me more often than satisfied, but next Monday, the 16th, has one that's rated R. Runtime matches 28 years later runtime. It'd be cool to be able to see the film a few days before its official release. You can tell them about your hack.
Yeah, I was reading a thread where people were discussing it, and the predominant theory is that's going to be 28 years later. The last one I went to go see ended up being Life of Chuck. The one I went to go see before that ended up being the one where she's getting text messages while she's on the blind date.
Yeah, a drop.
Drop, right. And that was really enjoyable. I had a really good time with that. So I had almost given up on these screen unseens. I'd almost given up on them, but I got to say the last couple of ones I've gone to see have ended up being kind of winners. And my guess, I'm speculating that next one is going to be 28 years later. That's my guess. So
And of course you're going to check the Reddit, right?
Well, see, that's the thing. Because I'm in LA, people go to screen unseen on the East Coast 3 hours before they start here. So at 4 p.m. my time, I just go to that Reddit thread, and there are people on the East Coast who are then confirming what the movie is. And then if it's one I want to see, buy my ticket. Buy my ticket and head on over there. So it's nice to do that. But yeah, I've been kind of satisfied with the ones we've been getting lately, and hopefully this next one will indeed be 28 years later. All right, what's next?
We got Aaron who says, random question. What was that inside joke on the channel when everyone was saying, send me your scripts? I've always wondered. Oh, that goes way back. We just used to tease Rob.
That goes way back.
Yeah, we just used to tease Rob about, because he would always talk about reading scripts or whatever, and you can't send unsolicited scripts. So,
and yet that would have, so going even further back on that, I still to this day get people either asking me if they can or just straight up sending me their scripts, asking me to read their scripts.
And we used to torment Rob on that.
And Rob gets that happening to him a lot too. So then I think Ray, who should be wandering in here in about 15 minutes or so, Ray goes, send Rob your scripts or something like that. And it's kind of like a Bring on the Filthy kind of moment.
Yeah.
You know, I said it once, and the first time I said Bring on the Filthy, it was in talking about a 50 Shades of Grey movie. I said, don't get me wrong, I love the filthy, bring on the filthy. And then that just kind of stuck. And the same thing happened with that. Ray goes, send Rob your scripts. And it just kind of became a thing and kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I just looked while we were telling the story, and the same thing. It's only the first 2 rows of IMAX at the Burbank 16. So
yeah, and those are not the best seats to have in an IMAX screen.
Thank you.
All right, what's next?
We got C Insight. Hi, everyone. There's a few Disney Plus shows that I've been excited about, Ironheart being one of them, but it seems like Disney hasn't been doing much to promote it. Do you think this means that they don't think it's good, or are they just it's good, or are they just probably not focused?
Not focused.
Yeah.
I have also been getting the sense that Disney isn't all that enthused by it. Now, look, I haven't seen it. I've seen the trailers, which I think have been junk. I don't think this is a great character. They could have done such great things with Riri Williams, but I think they dropped the ball on the character in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and these trailers don't look any good. That being said, on this show all the time, I'm talking about, I didn't think this thing looked very good, and I ended up loving it. And I hope that's what's going to end up with Ironheart. I hope so. I'm going to watch it. but it doesn't look so good to me. And I don't think you're wrong. It doesn't really feel like Disney's really getting behind this one either very much. It feels pretty low key. And so I don't know. Well, who knows? Maybe this will end up being my favorite show of the year. Never know. All right. What's next?
Anonymous, hey John, the show, love the show, and was wondering if within the next 15 years, do you think we'll start seeing remakes of, say, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, MCU?
Yes. Yeah, particularly Lord of the Rings. I
Yeah.
mean, Lord of the Rings, we are already past 20. It's still really weird to think about it, but Lord of the Rings is over 20 years old now, which is, oh my God, that's crazy. But it is. I actually think probably within the next 10, we'll see someone else take a swing at Lord of the Rings. And you know what? I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
It would be 35 years. I mean, that would be like if a movie in the 90s and you going back to the 60s, or a movie in the aughts going back to the 70s.
Yeah, because listen, there are things, Peter Jackson did a masterful job, but you know, there are things he had to change. There are things he had to omit and leave out. There are things he added there, you know, all that kind of stuff. I am all for somebody else now stepping in and taking a crack at their interpretation of Lord of the Rings, because it's no more complicated, no less complicated than this. If the new Lord of the Rings, whenever they do get around to making it and doing it, if it's good, great. We have another great iteration of Lord of the Rings. And if it's bad, who cares? We still have the original. We still have the Peter Jackson. Like, do you know how many versions of Sense and Sensibility there are, or Pride and Prejudice?
Right.
Or, you know, and every one has its own unique thing. I am all for doing a remake of Lord of the Rings because nothing bad can come out of it. If the movie's bad, we discard it. No problem. No big deal. If it's good, then we have another good thing to add to our viewing list. So I'm all for it. And at some point, I think it's going to happen to all the franchises. So yeah. And 15 years, guys, 5 years in the movie world is an eternity. 15 years is, might as well say forever. All right. So I do think we will. All right. What's next?
Howard says, John, just wondering if you follow or watch the NBA. If you do, what team do you cheer for, and what do you think about this final run the Pacers have been on? As a Cavs fan, I'm shocked and heartbroken.
Well, I mean, the Pacers have shocked everybody they played. Nobody thought they'd be here. Nobody thought they'd be here. Like there was no way that they were going to beat the Knicks.
I thought it was going to be Cavs and Thunder.
I mean, everybody thought it was going to be Cavs
Yeah.
and Thunder, right? They were easy. Like the Cavs were by far the best team in the regular season in the East. The Thunder were by far the best team in the West during the regular season. I mean, Denver, man, they pushed them to Game 7. That tells you just how good that team is. But I mean, yeah, okay, look, who do I want to win the championship? Obviously the Toronto Raptors. Who do I cheer for regularly since I'm not in Toronto and can't really follow too much there? Well, I live in LA, so I follow the Lakers. LeBron James is probably my second favorite player of all time. So I get to watch LeBron James right now. And now we got Luka Doncic here, who's going to be a perennial all-star MVP for many years to come. So yeah, so I normally cheer for the Raptors. Other than that, I cheer for the home team here, the LA Lakers. But there's a lot of teams I love. The Boston Celtics are my all-time favorite team, going back to the Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson era of that. But yeah, I got a lot of teams I like and cheer for. But yes, this Indiana Pacer team is a great Cinderella team. But OKC is just too good all around. So yeah, we're going to see OKC win this time. They're probably going to sweep the next 3 games, I think. But we'll see. All right, what's next?
Mega Red says, got my tickets for the early Superman screening. My area still had some good IMAX seats available. Can't wait. It's been my most anticipated movie since it was announced. It's been great sharing this journey with you all.
Yeah, I still can't believe it's that close now. Like it still just feels like it was yesterday that we were doing the John Campea Show and we now said James Gunn was taken over as him and Peter Safran as co-CEOs of Disney or of DC, I should say. And we're doing a Superman movie. And now here we are 1 month away. It's crazy to think about that. So yes, I'm glad you got your tickets and I got mine too. And I cannot wait to do that out of the theater reaction. All right, what's next?
Sedge says, forgot to put my name on the last message about Odeon's start and end time, but also wanted to say Odeon has a membership called Unlimited. Used to be £17.99, but now is $19.99, which is still worth it, as it's literally as many movies as you want to see a month.
Well, yeah, it was in the UK that they really started it. Like even before Movie Pass, they had in the UK, a couple of theater chains had these membership programs long before they had them here in North America. And listen, as much as I rightfully crap on AMC theaters, the AMC A-list program is the single best thing in movie going. I mean, here at least, right? I can't remember what I pay now. $28 a month? Anyway, $28 a month for 16 movies. 4 movies a week for $28 a month. That's almost the cost of one ticket. It's crazy. So listen, I have my problems with AMC. I don't think anybody should buy in my personal opinion, nobody should buy their concession stand stuff. But give credit where it's due. It is the best thing in movie going, that A-list program. They've knocked it out of the park with that, and they're keeping it reasonable. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Mega Red. The AMC I frequent most usually has only one cashier. They always call over people from the non-AMC A-list line. I always feel so awkward standing in my own and eventually relent and go into the normal line, or I won't be able to get my food at AMC. That's a local management issue.
That's a local manager thing, and you should either ask to speak to the manager and just say, hey, I love coming to the theater, but I need to let you know about something. Be polite. Everybody there is just trying to do the best they can. Be polite and just say, hey, listen, I love movies and I love coming here to go to them, but I need to communicate. One of the things that's kind of hurting my experience is when I come here and I got to stand in line for 20 minutes just to order some popcorn. And, you have this dedicated A-list line, but we often come in here and there'll be 30 people waiting to get served and you only have one kid behind the counter. Again, be nice. Be nice. As Patrick Swayze would say in Roadhouse, be nice, be polite, but express that. And if that doesn't change anything, write to AMC and say, I'm getting tired of this. Because it does happen once in a while. I get really frustrated sometimes when I go into a movie theater and there's a couple of big movies playing and I get in there and there's like 2 kids behind the counter, 30 or 40 people in the regular line and in the A-list line. And they got 2 kids working in there. So what do you expect these kids to do? They can't keep up with this.
Nah.
It's really frustrating. And now, fortunately, I don't see that happen too often, but it does happen. If you see it happen consistently at your theater, again, be polite, be nice, be kind, but ask to speak to the manager and just communicate. This is kind of hurting my movie-going experience. Yeah. And just make sure that gets known. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, hey, John and crew, love the show. Hey, John, what is it going to take for you to get excited for Ahsoka Season 2? And do you think the success of Skeleton Crew will help Ahsoka in the long run?
There's nothing that can get me more excited. The only thing that can get me excited for Ahsoka Season 2 is the show is starting to watch Season 2, and I am going to watch it, but it better be a lot better than Season 1, because Season 1 was not good. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't The Acolyte.
Right.
Or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but it just flat out wasn't very good. It was pretty flat. The only great thing about it was Ray Stevenson. That was the only great thing about it. And I loved the character when we saw her in Mandalorian. I love the way they did it there, and I love who's playing her, but the show itself was just not very good. So watching Season 2, if they can do what Lord of the Rings of Power did, which was follow up a pretty disappointing Season 1 and actually show big improvement in Season 2. If they can do that with Ahsoka, that will get me excited about continuing to watch the show. But nothing they can put into a trailer, nothing they can do that is going to get me excited, because guess what? I've already tasted the pie and the pie's not very good. So that's what it will take to get me excited about it. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hey, John and crew, really enjoyed the show. Went to Epic Universe last weekend and it exceeded all my expectations. It was awesome. John, you have to take Ann here. Here, Universal, take my money.
I have heard nothing but drop dead amazing things but all from the Wizarding World to the How to Train Your Dragon part, the Super Nintendo part, the Dark Universe, like everybody just says it's fantastic. And yes, as soon as we get the van, and I'm going to make a dedicated video, I think, about what's happening with us and the van and the traveling we're going to be doing. I'll probably put together a video of that sometime here soon, but probably sometime in October or November, we're probably going to hop in the van, make a drive across the country, go out to Florida for probably a week and explore these epic Universal things, because everybody's telling me it's just amazing. So I can't wait to go. And Anne's very excited about it. All right. What's next?
J-Mobile, I feel like Wick spinoff using an established Wick character, Holly, Yen, etc., would have a better reception. Ballerina being brand new, not someone we love or want from past JW movies. Heard it, in my opinion.
Nope. I don't. You're not going to convince me 1 second that if you had done it on the Halle Berry, the manager, that it would have done any better. Because here's the thing. Let me go in there. So that was John Wick 3, right? So John Wick 3, Parabellum, as it's also known, this was the third of the John Wick films, right? It made $56 million in its opening weekend. If you'd done a spinoff with the secondary character from that we haven't heard or seen from since in there, you think that would have made more than 25 million? I really don't think it would have. I honestly think that the message here, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think the message here is that the movie going on just isn't interested in John Wick's spin-off films. Especially since Ballerina is really good. And the fact that we just saw everybody loved Anna de Armas in that James Bond film. What if you've done a prequel of the Bowery King that would have made more? I really don't think so.
Yeah,
I really don't. And again, I think the message here from the audience is that we want John Wick. We're not interested in John Wick spinoffs. So anyway, that's kind of my take of it. All right, what's next?
Okay, final two here. Jake G says The Bear season 4 drops all episodes at once, just a couple of days before Squid Game releases its finale. Not only that, but I'm not hearing a lot of talk or hype leading up to The Bear. It's such a shame because it's just going to come and go. We haven't gotten a trailer yet, though.
We did. We just got the trailer for it a couple of days ago.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they dropped the trailer for it. It looks pretty good. The trailer looks good. Season 3 was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
And it's strong, but I agree.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it did not live up to the level of seasons 1 and 2. And I think that's contributing to a little bit more of the malaise we're feeling about going into it. Like, it feels like this one's just kind of coming.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe it can get right back to form, but I must confess, I'm not super excited for season 4 like I was for season 3, because it was just, it felt a little pedestrian to me. Season 4 felt a little pedestrian. So again, I don't like the release strategy either. But we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, I'm still going to watch it, but I think there's just not as much of that energy behind it right now, because season 3 was, again, I just think a little pedestrian.
Right.
Or as Peter Griffin would say, pedantic. A little pedantic. All right, what's next?
Joe Cook Productions. Are you looking forward to Weapons? I think it's my most anticipated of the year. Hoping it is good because Krager is doing Resident Evil afterwards.
Dude, listen. If you didn't see our CinemaCon coverage, we talked about this at CinemaCon. They gave us our first real look at Weapons at CinemaCon back in April. And it looks awesome. And the trailers have been great. It's got a great premise. I love movies that have these great, quick elevator pitch premises. In this little town, 27 these kids, all from the same class, disappear at the same time in the middle of the night from their homes, and nobody knows where they are. Boom. That's it. That's the elevator pitch. You got me. And then you put together a killer trailer. You add guys like Josh Brolin in it. This thing looks great. I'm very, very excited to see this movie, and I have been since April. I can't wait to watch it. All right. Do we have any? We got a little bit
Yeah.
of time left. Do we got any questions from our channel members?
Yeah, Henry Lemoyne says, "Hey, John, Eddington trailer looks great. Political thriller, Western, really getting No Country for Old Men vibes from it. Joaquin Phoenix is the GOAT. Dude never phones anything in. Looks like another banger performance from him."
You know what? I opened up the trailer for it this morning because surprise, surprise, Pedro Pascal's in that too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I watched the first 10 or 15 seconds of it, and then I got called away. So I haven't watched the whole trailer yet. I started to watch the trailer this morning, and then something came up and I got called away. So look who's involved with the thing. It's probably going to be great, but I haven't seen the whole thing yet myself, but I will get around to that. All right, what's next?
We got Moses Perez, who says, "Have you heard Ben Stiller's reportedly teaming up with Warner Brothers to direct a Twilight Zone movie?
Yes.
Also with Leonardo DiCaprio producing. I hope it's true because I've been a huge fan of the original series for as long as I can remember. If true, what are your thoughts?"
I'll be honest, I don't know. They've taken a couple of swings at Twilight Zone over the years, and I just don't know. Like, Twilight Zone was so groundbreaking in its day, right? The true origin of anthology series, right? I just don't know if there's a place for that today. I just don't know if there is. A movie that's going to be a collection of what, 4 shorter stories, 5 shorter stories,
Right, little vignettes.
I mean, it could be great, but again, several people have taken swings at this over the years, and let's put it this way: I'm not going to be excited about it until I see it, and maybe then. But I just don't know if that's the property you take a swing at now today. I just don't know if there's room for it today. Because again, it's not groundbreaking anymore. It was groundbreaking back in the day, but so much has taken from Twilight Zone. I just don't know if it's all that fresh anymore. Again, maybe I'm wrong. It could be. All right, what's next?
We got Mr. Black Bono. Should Disney come out and say what happened to the Blade situation now, or just leave it for later and tell the story of what happens behind the scenes?
They don't owe it to anybody to say crap. Disney doesn't have to say anything about what's gone on behind the scenes. It's nobody's business. Would I be curious to know? Of course I would. But Disney doesn't owe anybody an explanation. You haven't bought a ticket to the movie yet. I haven't bought a ticket to the movie yet. They don't owe anybody anything. Now, I'm sure. I mean, look, honestly, I don't think it's any more complicated than this. They announced a movie before they knew what they were doing. And then in the process of putting it together, it wasn't coming together the way they wanted. And then they tried it with somebody else, and that wasn't coming together the way they wanted. I mean, I really don't think it's any more complicated than that. Now, if there is more juicy drama behind the scenes, I'm sure it'll come out someday in a book. But, like, no. Do I think Disney should come out and tell the world what's happened to it? Nah. Blade not being here has no effect on you, has no effect on me. It's not impacting my life at all. So no, they don't owe anybody an explanation. So no, they shouldn't. And I don't think they will. All right, what's next?
Dominic says, if you had to bet $1,000 on which would make more money this year, would you take Thunderbolts F4 and Superman combined, or just Avatar 3? I think if you were throwing Jurassic World in there, I wouldn't take that bet.
Well, yeah, but that's a totally different thing.
But just
right?
those 3, you could possibly say Avatar 3.
Yep. I think I would have said Avatar 3.
Because we already know the take basically for Thunderbolts.
But even if I hadn't,
yeah.
You know, everybody always said I was wrong, but Thunderbolts is a movie of B, C, and D list leftover characters from Disney Plus shows. It was never going to make a lot of money. It's great, and that's the important thing, but it was never going to make a lot of money. I think even before Thunderbolts came out, I think I might have taken Avatar 3. Avatar has the potential to be a $2 billion film. It'll probably more like 1.7. It's probably where it's going to come in at. I'm guessing. And I don't think Superman, Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts are going to add up to 1.7 billion. So yeah, I would have taken Avatar.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
One last one here from King Daddy. I got to move this up. Hey, John and the homies, have you all seen Bring Her Back yet? Forgive me if I missed your review, but man, I thought that movie was great. I almost think I liked it better than Talk to Me. The kitchen scene, shooey. LOL. Anyways, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, we talked about it. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was as good as Talk to Me, but I thought it was pretty solid, and I know Rob liked it quite a bit. Rob liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow for the next installment of the John Campea Show. We'll all be back. Hopefully you'll be here too. So for the hopefully back home by now, Robert Meyer Burnett, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys tomorrow.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.